Good afternoon and welcome in to another edition of the Blitz. It's Friday, the Friday before week 2 in college football. We've got a full slate, folks. Yes, there's a big game for our Bulldogs. So we thought we would start with this song. Featuring Camion, Prather, and UGA Music Business Program.
Glad to know that.
We thought we would cite our source. Welcome into the Blitz. Thanks again for joining us here on this awesome Friday where we are just right around the corner from week 2 of the college football season. It already seems to be flying by. Yes, I do have the legend in the house again for week 2. 35-40. Is that Herschel? Oh yeah, that was Herschel. Anyway, yes, the legend is in the house. This is the last week I'll have him in the house before he heads back to Tennessee. So we've got a full slate of games that we're going to go over today. We've got probably the biggest weekend so far. I mean, last week there were some decent games on, but this week by far outperforms next week. Don't you think, Legend?
Yeah, I mean, I think so.
Or outperforms last week, sorry.
I think so. I mean, some of the quality games this week are going to be really fun to watch. I mean, we did have a couple good games on last week, but none of them really stood out to me except for maybe 2, and I think we're going to have a bunch of close matchups this week.
Yeah, a lot of good matchups coming up. You know, you look at games like Auburn and Clemson. Looks like a really, really good game. Auburn, a lot of expectations, coming in. So that's going to be good. Obviously, Clemson defending the national title. Not a lot of games on early this week. You've got Louisville and North Carolina, but really nothing special up until, I guess you could say, that 2:30 Arkansas TCU game.
Yeah, and I don't know who to pick in this one this week. I'm probably going to have to stick home in the SEC and say Arkansas because I think Brett Bielema's got that defense going somewhere where they need to be, and the quarterback there is exceptional. So I think he's going to be the difference maker in this game, and I don't think TCU has the defense to stop Arkansas. Yeah,
I'm with you. I'm going to go SEC in that game, and we're going to talk a little bit more about these games. But before we do that, on our show earlier in the week, we talked a little bit about the games, but we said we would really emphasize some of the things that we talked about, and I just kind of want to backtrack just a little bit. I want to go to that Florida State-Alabama game for just a second. I think that if you really were paying attention last week, that was obviously it was considered the biggest opening game in college football in history, and Florida State really didn't live up to the expectation. Alabama, on the other hand, came out and just they were Alabama again. But it was really confusing to me that Florida State really, really didn't even perform.
Yeah, I think it was a disappointing performance by Florida State. Now, don't get me wrong, they have a great defense there, even with Francois being out. I think they'll do fine. I think they'll still beat a bunch of teams. Now, making
do they contend for the ACC?
I don't think so. I think you've got a better Miami team in there without Francois, and obviously the national title defenders, Clemson. So I think it's going to be between Clemson and Miami in this year, and mainly just because of the Francois situation. I don't know who they've got back there as the backup. So their defense will win them a couple games, but yeah. I think other than that is a disappointing start and now leads to a disappointing season for the Florida State Seminoles.
Without question. I think that Florida State is certainly a talented team. I think they'll make some noise, probably pull some upsets this year. But it's a big blow when you lose your quarterback. Now they got to go to, I think I heard earlier in the week on XM radio that they will have to rely on a true freshman, a lot like Georgia right now. But it's not a temporary thing in Florida State. It's a permanent thing through this year. Let's see here. That's probably the game that stands out to me the most. I do want to talk a little bit about that North Carolina State game. That was a really, really, really good game. South Carolina and Jake Bentley really came out and made some noise. And that offense performed really good against what I think a really good NC State team, defensive team. I think that was a tough defense that they went up against.
Yeah, and Corey, I think South Carolina's gonna. I think they're gonna be a very good dark horse in the SEC this year. They're going to beat somebody
without question.
I think they're on the right track. Absolutely, they still have some questions at defense. You're letting North Carolina State score 35 points on you,
mm-hmm.
so there's a question there. But that offense looked fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited to see how they play this week against. Missouri, yes. Mm-hmm. So, and Missouri put up 70 points last week.
Yeah.
So let's see if they're.
But they also had, I don't know how many put up.
I think they had
45 or 50.
Yeah.
So it's not looking good defensively there in Missouri. But South Carolina coming out on top against NC State. I don't really think we covered hardly any of that in our little pregame show earlier in the week. But 35-28 win. Jake Bentley really looked good, and South Carolina made a big stop at the end of the game. Just to kind of touch on just a couple other key games last week, you had Virginia Tech upsetting West Virginia 31-24. Some people would call that an upset. I actually thought Virginia Tech would win the game. Tennessee, Georgia Tech, very, very good game. Tennessee, though, looking a little sluggish there defensively, and looks like they've got some question marks there at quarterback. Thought Normandy did a good job. Dormandy, whatever his name is, did a good job considering it was his first start. A lot of hype, though, and I felt like he stared his receivers down, didn't really show any athleticism, and of course they're now without Juwan Jennings.
Right. The only thing I enjoyed about this game was watching Georgia Tech's offense, and some people hate watching it because it's not typical to see the triple option ran so well in college football. But I really enjoyed the Georgia Tech offense in this game, and that was the only thing that stood out to me the whole game.
Yeah. I will say I think Tennessee's going to make some noise this year. They do have a great running back. We talked a little bit about him. The Kelly kid, number 4, very, very good. I like what I see there. I think the quarterback play will get better. Offensive line looked to be a little bit better. But defensively is where I would be concerned with Tennessee. Then again, it's early in the year, and it's a completely different offense that they'll face the rest of the year. So I think we'll really know next week in week 3 against Florida. We'll touch base a little bit on that, but we'll save most of that for next week. That'll be a hot topic. Okay, so let's move on to this week's games, and just right off the top, we've got a big game in South Bend this week, and I want to circle back around here, but just initial thoughts for Georgia and this historical venue that they'll be playing in with the true freshmen.
Initial thoughts, Georgia fan. We win big, and we win hard. I think we're going to go and dominate Notre Dame in this game.
You didn't see that confident.
I think
with Jake Fromm.
Yeah, I think Jake Fromm's good enough to get us by. With our 2 elite running backs in the backfield behind him, I think we're going to rely on them heavy. They'll probably have 45 carries between both of them. So
okay.
I'm thinking. I think we're going to end up winning this game pretty good. I'm not going to predict a score because I don't do that week in, week out on my own team. But you'll hear some predictions on different teams later.
Yeah, we will make our picks later on in the show with just a few games. We'll be covering, obviously, the Georgia-Notre Dame game. We'll go over a little Oklahoma, Ohio State, South Carolina, Missouri, Stanford, USC, Arkansas, TCU, and, of course, Auburn, Clemson. Give you our expectations and a quick overview of the UT Florida. But, right off the top, before we, let's move on from Georgia and Notre Dame. We'll come back around. But another good game, intriguing game that people are looking at, I think, this week is Clemson and Auburn. And Auburn, all I've heard preseason and now even, is that Auburn is going to contend for the West, even be the team that dethrones Alabama this year. They're facing a Clemson team that looked really, really good in week 1. What are what was your assessment of each of these two teams, and what do you expect in this matchup?
Clemson looked good last week, but I mean, who did they look good against? I mean, I guess everybody could look well playing. So, excuse me. I think Auburn here is another team that I like staying inside the SEC. Just because Clemson, I mean, how do you continue to do what you do by losing the best quarterback in the nation?
Right.
So I want to see how they perform against a top 15 team. And I think Auburn is, if not the best team in the West. I think that, like I said last week, the Iron Bowl will decide who wins the West this year.
Yeah. I like the assessment there. I think that Auburn is a good team, but we also heard a lot of chatter last year about this Auburn team, and they really haven't been as good as their preseason hype would lead you to believe. Clemson, pretty heavy favorite in this game. Right now, I believe they're a 5-point favorite, 67.6% chance of getting this thing done. It is being played in Death Valley, which I think hurts Auburn's chances a little bit. But Auburn, nonetheless, has a lot of hype to live up to in this game, and it'll be your first true test for both teams. In that game, you know what? I like Clemson. I do. I like Clemson in this game. I think that it'll be a big task for their new young quarterback, but he's got the crowd on his side. They are defending national champions. I think they still have speed, and time will tell, but I am going to go with the home team, Clemson Tigers. Who you got?
It's not a bad pick because, I mean, who wants to bet against the reigning national championship contender?
Hard to bet against them, right? Until somebody knocks them off.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. But I'm taking Auburn in this one. I'm going to take Auburn, and I'm going to take them 24-17. 24-17.
24-17, the legend says, taking Auburn. You know what? If I was going to put a score on this thing, I think it's super, super close. But I'll take Clemson, the home team. I'll take them 28-24 is what I would go there. So big time game coming on this weekend with Auburn and Clemson. Let's see here. What time is that game, Legend? Do we know? Right there it is.
Yeah, I believe
6 o'clock Central, be 7 o'clock Eastern, and that game will be played on ESPN. So keep your eye out for that one. Moving on down to this little quick afternoon game. It's really kind of the appetizer before the evening hits tomorrow, and you've got Arkansas and TCU. Right now, looking at it, TCU's a 3-point favorite. They are playing on the road, going to Fayetteville. It looks like. Not sure why TCU would be the favorite there, but they are ranked a top 25 team. I like Arkansas in this game.
Absolutely. I don't think you can go against Arkansas just for the main reason of TCU's defense. I mean, if it's going to be a scoring battle, I think Arkansas's defense gets a stop before TCU's does.
Yeah, I'm looking more at the Arkansas running game. I heard a stat earlier that the Arkansas offensive line was averaging 370-plus pounds on the offensive line. TCU's defensive line is in the 280 range, I think, something like that. So you got a damn near 100-pound weight difference on each guy there on average. So I like Arkansas to manhandle TCU. Austin Allen for Arkansas, super, super talented quarterback. TCU, though, good program.
Great program.
Gary Patterson sometimes knows what he's doing over there. So,
who you got?
Any other thoughts?
Who you got on this one?
I'm going to take Arkansas. Taking Arkansas. I guess I'd have to go. I just don't think TCU will be able to stop that run game at Arkansas, and if they do stack the box, then Austin Allen will throw. So I'm going to say it's. I'm going to go 34-27.
I'll take Arkansas, and I'm going to say 42-34.
42-34. So a high-scoring game is what we're anticipating.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow. Interesting. And you're seeing more and more of those as defenses seem to disappear each and every year. Another game I really like here, Austin. I think you like this game too. Stanford and USC. Sam Darnold for USC. The leading Heisman contender looked a little rusty last week. He looked a little rough up against a Western Michigan team that P.J. Fleck had rolling pretty hot last year.
First game of the year, I mean, high expectations for these guys, obviously, but, I mean, let him get the kinks out, and I think he warms up just fine.
I agree 100%. Sam Darnold, to me, is the best quarterback in the country. He looks unbelievably NFL caliber. He's an NFL quarterback. He really
Absolutely.
fits the bill on all fronts for that. And I'm with you. You come in, you're working out some of the kinks. I think that Sam Darnold will be just fine. He'll be in New York at the end of the year.
Absolutely.
Stanford, on the other hand, also a lot of hype surrounding that program. Each year they come in, they're physical. They play that SEC-style defense.
Absolutely.
They are a pro-style team. I think they give USC every bit of what they want this week.
I love this matchup. High scoring offense for USC and a big, bold defense for Stanford.
Do you like the 6 point spread there in USC's favor?
If we're going points, I'm taking Stanford in the points.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Straight up, I'm taking USC, but I think it's going to be a very fought game to the very end. And with points, I'm going to say USC wins this one, but it's going to be
close game.
28.
The Legends going with Stanford.
28-24.
28-24. Okay. I actually also like Stanford this week. I think that USC does have the advantage playing at home. They're going to look a lot better than they did against Western Michigan, but there's something about Stanford to me that is really special. I think they played disciplined. To me, USC just didn't seem very disciplined last week. Maybe they'll prove me wrong, but I'm going to take Stanford in a low-scoring game, and I'm just going to say it's going to be 21-17 Stanford taking that one. And again, USC is a 6-point favorite. That game will be at 8:30 Eastern on Fox. You can catch that game there. Very good West Coast Pac-12 matchup. Another little, I don't know what you want to call this game. I don't know if you call it underrated or overrated, but USC and Missouri, or South Carolina and Missouri. I like South Carolina in this game, but the way that Missouri put points up, Drew Lock and company playing at home, did they give Muschamp and the Gamecocks trouble?
No.
No?
No, I don't think so. I think North Carolina State's a way better football team than Missouri, and South Carolina did their thing against them. So I think South Carolina destroys Missouri. And when I say destroy, I mean they go in and walk out with a 20-point win.
It's that bad?
I believe so. Yes.
My gosh. Okay. Well, I'm with you on South Carolina winning the game. I think it's much closer than that, though. Right now, Missouri's actually a 3-point favorite in this game. It's being played in Columbia. So, I like Missouri to come out, play a little bit better defense, but I don't think it's enough to stop Jake Bentley and what South Carolina has going on.
I've got one thing to say. With that 3-point spread there, call Vegas and put some money on South Carolina with 3 points.
Yeah, that might be good because I do think South Carolina is the better football team. Really impressive what Will Muschamp's done in a year and just over a year, with this team. South Carolina last year was coming in as a laughing stock. He upsets Tennessee, makes a couple of splash games in there, and then comes out last week and beats a good NC State team. We talked about that. A defensive team in NC State that was really highly touted and very experienced. And Jake Bentley came out and performed. I think that he goes on the road in a hostile environment this week and puts himself in the conversation for best quarterback in the SEC.
Absolutely. 31-24.
31-24 South Carolina.
It's not going to be as close as the score says it is.
You know what? I think that South Carolina scores every bit of 34 points, but keeps Missouri from crossing over that 20-point mark. I'm going to say 34-17. I think South Carolina's defense figures out a way. Let's move on here. We've got Nicholls State and Texas A&M. I'm just kidding. We're not going to cover that game.
Hey, actually, though, that is a trap game.
It is.
If you remember a year ago, our Georgia Bulldogs had their hands full with that team called Nicholls State.
I almost had a heart attack. I know you did too. if you're a Georgia Bulldog, that game scared you to death. We beat Nicholls State last year by 2 points. Unacceptable when you have guys like Nick Chubb on your team. There's another big game, Austin, this weekend. You know what I'm talking about, huh?
Yeah, I don't like this game at all. I hate Ohio State. Sorry for anybody that likes them or enjoys watching them play. But I'm taking Oklahoma just out of spite because can't stand Ohio State. Don't like anything that they do there. So I think Ohio State is a 3-point favorite or two or what is
7.5.
So, wow, 7.5.
7.5 point favorite.
Wow. Yeah, I'll definitely take Oklahoma in those 7 points. Baker Mayfield is a monster.
Baker Mayfield is a very, very good quarterback. I like it a lot. My concern here is that you get rid of Bob Stoops. If you look at what Ohio State did last year with practically the same team, they dismantled Oklahoma on the road. Now it's going to be in the horseshoe. I like Ohio State big in this game, but I like Baker Mayfield. I think he's very good. Lincoln Riley, first-year head coach. He's turned 33, I think they said, this year. So he's super young. Obviously, he knows what he's doing. He's been under Stoops for a little while. But Bob Stoops leaving, Ohio State returning most of their guys, playing at home. I got to give them the edge, and I think they get this done. And around I think a high-scoring game. I love that Ohio State defensive line. Probably the best defensive line in the country, but time will tell. They didn't play like it last week, maybe necessarily, but I like Ohio State. Let's just say I'm going to go 31-27. What's your score?
I'm gonna say it's gonna be a little bit more high powered than that. So I'm gonna go 34-31. And I think Ohio State wins the game.
Oh, you are going to take Ohio State.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Okay.
But
all right.
You
couldn't contain it. He doesn't want to be wrong, folks. He doesn't want to be wrong. Going to be a good game, though. I mean, if it wasn't for Georgia Notre Dame, I would be flipping back and forth between Oklahoma, Ohio State, South Carolina, Missouri, Stanford, USC. You can go on and on. Auburn, Clemson. I'm pretty sure we're going to be glued to what, in our mind, is the game of the week. In Georgia and Notre Dame. Gosh, I'm excited about this game. A lot of talk. Notre Dame fans think that Georgia's going to get run out of the building. Georgia fans think that they're going to go into South Bend for the first time in the history of the program and win this game with a true freshman quarterback. And it's going to be an incredible environment. They said there's 20,000 people still trying to get tickets to this game. It's one of the highest tickets you can get as far as price goes. This so far it's the highest ticket price, I believe, in all of college football. So this game is going to be electric. The festivities are going on. The Falcons are playing the Bears there in Chicago. So festive environment. What excites you about this game this week? Other than being a Georgia fan.
The thing that excites me the most is seeing how Jake Fromm performs. I think everybody's looking forward to seeing that. We've seen him perform against a very advanced App State defensive front, big guys that we did well against. And then also I think if I'm not mistaken, all 11 players on that App State defense are seniors. So I do believe that he had a little bit of a challenge last week, not taking anything away from Appalachian State. Of course, they're a great football team, but we were just a little bit more prepared for them. So I'm a little bit excited to see how he performs against a Notre Dame defense that a lot of people like. They've got a big front seven. I mean, big boys up there. I think they average around the 360 mark,
big boys,
350 mark. So I mean,
big running backs.
John, golly, guys, if anybody didn't see that running back from Notre Dame, please go look him up.
Yeah, what is it? Is it Jamal Adams or something
Jamal
like that?
Adams, I believe is his name, but he is a monster. And so I'm looking forward to see how our defense stops him, but I think it's going to be a good game, but I don't think that they'll be able to hang in there with Nick Chubb and Sony, and I think Georgia runs away with it in the fourth.
Wow. My thing about this game is, first of all, to answer your question there, yes, App State had a very experienced team coming back. Their defensive line was one of the fastest defensive lines in the country. Their quarterback was Sun Belt Player of the Year last year. Georgia did a pretty good job, but nonetheless, there's still a huge a huge gap in talent there, so you can't really go too much off of that game. This is going to be much more evenly matched. Right now, Notre Dame is a favorite. They're a favorite in this game. I'm not sure what it is, but right now they got a 58% chance of winning this game. We will find that stat for you to see how much they're favored by. I believe it's 6 points. But yeah, so the line is moving further and further into Notre Dame's favor.
It's 4 points. It went from 3 to 3.5 to 4 points. I've been keeping an eye on that.
Yeah. So right now, Notre Dame feeling pretty good about their chances. What I'm, and we're gonna elaborate a little on this game because it is our game of the week. I just think that Georgia now. If any of the college football shows that you've watched this week, if you're listening to ESPN Radio or XM Radio, the College Sports Nation, all of them say the same things. Georgia, from a talent standpoint, is hands down the better football team. Talent-wise, Georgia's got more depth and more talent on defense, really all over the place. But there's a downfall here. Kirby Smart's ability to contain and stop a dual-threat quarterback. And Notre Dame, Brandon Wimbush, is one hell of a dual-threat quarterback. Last week, the kid was 17 for 30, had 184 yards passing, and had over 100 yards rushing. So that's going to be a big problem for Georgia.
Well, it will be. And I think with Georgia's line right now and the way that our players are set up, I think we set up nicely to match a running quarterback. We have Lorenzo Carter on the end, very fast man at running at 230 pounds, 240 pounds. So that's as far as the right end goes. I think we're going to be fine there. We've got Trenton on the other side. Not as fast, but he can catch up to you, that's for sure. So, and Roquan Smith will probably be spying him most of the game, if I had to guess. So I think we're okay. I think we're going to be able to contain him and rattle his cage a little bit early. And anybody that likes to run the ball, once you get hit once or twice, it's not very fun, not very much fun anymore to run the ball.
True. Another big time concern here for the Georgia Bulldogs, in my opinion, is the Notre Dame receiving corps. They're humongous, and we are depleted in our secondary. We got Aaron Davis dealing with a hamstring injury. Malcolm Parrish still out with that foot injury. We're having to shuffle guys around. We got a lot of young guys that can step in. You love a guy like DeAndre Baker, who's a true sophomore. Had a fantastic freshman campaign last year at cornerback. He's healthy, thank goodness. Knock on wood there. But, Georgia's got to really have a good game plan coming in because if this turns into a shootout, Georgia doesn't win the football game. In my opinion, Jake Fromm, the way that we're going to win this game is he's going to hand the ball off to two of the best running backs in the country. We outmatch Notre Dame up front on both sides of the ball, really. They do have a big offensive line, but I think with our running backs and our offensive line can handle their defensive line.
I think you misguided your words there. You said two of the best running backs. I think it's the best running backs in the country.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, it could be. When it comes to a duo, there's nobody I don't think that can touch them. Then you add guys like DeAndre Swift back there, Elijah Holyfield, Brian Herron. We've got a lot of depth at running back, but those guys can only run the ball. We got to have guys that block for them, and we got to have a quarterback that can also stretch the field to open up that run game. Because Notre Dame is going to come in here and they're going to stack the box. They're going to say, all right, true freshman, beat us with your arm. And I kind of feel like Georgia's going to try that same approach on defense. You're not running on us, Wimbush,
Well, they're not. That's one thing about Georgia's defense. I really think that we're going to stop that run. Because what they do, obviously, is they use that big running back to hurt and to tire defenses. And then they allow their quarterback to get out in space and either run or throw. Well, once you take that run game away, their offense becomes one-dimensional. The quarterback can't throw the ball all game. He's not that talented. They didn't recruit him for his throwing. They recruited him for his running. So I think once you take that running back ability out of that offense, it becomes one-dimensional, and then you just got to worry about watching the quarterback.
Okay. Yeah, and, these Notre Dame fans, I wasn't exaggerating when I said they feel like they're going to run Georgia out of the building. If you look at this comment, there was a gentleman that commented on the ESPN message board saying, I have seen Georgia play at least 3 times in my life. Because of that experience, I can assure you that Notre Dame will win this game. It may be close, so I want it to be conservative on my score estimate. He says Notre Dame wins this game 61-7.
Well, if you could get his name for me, I'm going to message him back and see if he wants to bet on that.
Unbelievable. And then I did read another thing yesterday that in Brian Kelly's press conference, or on his weekly call-in show, a couple of Georgia fans called in and were giving him a hard time, heckling the coach. So this game's getting a little heated. You're getting some chitter and some chatter.
One thing I seen too, Corey, I read the other day. It said Dominic Sanders was in a press conference, and he said that he was going to punish the wide receivers at Notre Dame, and then Jonathan Ledbetter came in and said that he would take care of the linemen on the offense. And so we've got some words coming back and forth. So I think it's going to be an interesting game. It's going to be an exciting game. The hype is real, and I think hopefully Georgia gets out of this one.
Yeah, you got Georgia ranked 15, Notre Dame coming in at 24. No, we can't forget, and especially Notre Dame fans out there, Notre Dame went 4-8 last year. So, they need this win, and Brian Kelly, he's on the hot seat. He needs this win. I think that Notre Dame, definitely the pressure's on them. They're playing at home. The coach is on the hot seat. They need this win more than we do. But sometimes that kind of pressure is not good for your football team. It's not good for your football team. Also, I should mention that Brian Kelly right now is facing a lawsuit from a former player that alleges that they withheld medical information on him, and he had a spinal cord injury, and they put him back in the game. I don't know to what extent, but there are allegations out there of that going on that could be a distraction in the locker room.
It could be. Very well could be.
In a big game.
Players not trusting your coach.
Just unnecessary baggage coming into a game.
Exactly.
Do you want to take your pick?
No, I think I'm going to leave this one to
superstitious.
Yeah, I think I'm going to leave this one to whoever wants to pick it. I will stay away from the picks on this, but I will say Georgia wins.
Okay.
Not going to give you a score. Just going to say the boys in red are going to pull it out.
The boys in red are going to pull it out. I really like this matchup. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I am leaning towards my Bulldogs. I could never pick against them, but I'm not comfortable, mainly because of Jake Fromm. I think that Jake Fromm is a guy that has all the intangibles, but he's super, super young, and I think it's going to be extremely tough for him to go on the road in a place like Notre Dame and get it done. So it all, to me, falls on the coach's shoulders. Do you have a game plan in place to keep Jake Fromm comfortable? Don't ask him to do too much. And can your defense contain the quarterback?
Well, yeah, and I think I think Kirby Smart. I think he breaks this offense down simple enough for a freshman quarterback. And Jake Fromm's smart. He's not dumb. He wouldn't be going to the College of Georgia. So I think he breaks this offense down very simple. I think he says, you've got a go route. If the guy's there, throw the ball. If he's not there, get rid of it or go down if you need to go down. Don't force any balls in. There's no reason to do that. That just causes trouble for everyone, really.
Yeah.
So I think he breaks this offense down, says throw the ball long or don't, turn around, hand it off to your best running back in the country, let him do his work, and then that's going to open some slant routes, some go routes. If the ball's not there, don't throw it. Simple as that.
Yep. It's going to be an interesting game. You can catch that one. It's going to be on NBC where Notre Dame's games are aired. You know what? That's it for this edition of the Blitz this week. Thank you for listening to us. Next week, we'll be back with some Tennessee, Florida, some other good matchups that we'll cover there, but keep an eye on all these games. Let us know what you think of the show. Please click and subscribe if you enjoyed it. Thank you again for listening to this edition of the Blitz. We out.
Go Dogs!
Go Dogs! It's Georgia, make some noise. Scream if you love your Bulldogs. Georgia, go.